write the value on runtime, then you have to check this box if it is from studio. If you are running from the code from studio and you want to pass the value from runtime, so whenever job you are going to trigger, or I mean you are going to run, right? Trigger in the sense whenever you are planned to run, you want to pass the values at that time, then that is called as a runtime. So you can just click on this, then it will prompt you. If you have already checked that box in a context level, then it will prompt you to value. So if you are not checked that box, it will not ask. So default whatever value is defined in this context, that is the value it will go and pick up, and it will try to pass it. And still you don't want runtime, or you want to for your specific job somebody is using, but still you want to override for your code. So you can, what you can do, right? You can call that variable context dot name, and you can assign the value, what value you want to use, or what value you want to replace with the context whatever defined by the others. So for example, the Sai is defined there, so I want to mention here Sai Krishna. So I just want to use complete name, just want to override. So now this will become a, this is not a runtime, this is a kind of you are locally you are assigning or declaring that value, whatever variable declared, you are assigning that value to that declared variable, but it is a local. So the local means it within your job, always whenever you run this job, it will automatically takes this value. It's not going to check what you have provided in your different environments, right? So if you are going to Sai or Sunny, whatever values you have, it will not pick up. If it pick up also, it will override with your local whatever you have mentioned or whatever you have override. So it will automatically override that value. So now I'm not checking the prompt anything, right? So it is going to override what we have in a default or what we have defined in your context group. So it will override by your local code. This is a local, you are declaring that variable, you are calling that variable, and you are assigning the value to that variable. So this will be high priority. So I mean it is going to take as a first priority, and it will automatically it will override. Even you have passed a runtime. So now you see, right, Sai Krishna. So now I am going to even use the runtime now. So for this same, I'm going to use a runtime. Still, even though what it is going to take, it will take the local variable. So local, always local, you will have that kind of uh, confidence, or you have that kind of strength, right? If you are in local, you can do anything, right? Like that, local variables have that capacity. It cannot allow you to override. So local within the code, you have defined that value as a Sai Krishna. Now I am trying to pass as a Naveen. So you can see runtime it is passed, but still it is going to take the local whatever you defined. Sai is defined in a context group. This is going to be a global. And when you are running the job, you are passing runtime, but still it is taking locally whatever you have declared or defined value. So this is local. This is a local value which is going to take the first priority. So that is what you have to understand, how if somebody has within a code he has defined that value, then if you pass a runtime or if you pass from the context, it will not override. So local is going to be the more priority. The first place it is going to be local. So always we'll give the priority to local, right? And then it is going to be a class, like in technical terms you can understand, this is a method level. So method level variable, and if you define a class level variable, and global. So global in the static. So static is our global variable. So global level. So class means runtime. So when you are passing, or you are overriding that value. When you are running the job, you are passing. That is called runtime. Example, you can take. You can forget about these keywords. You can say how many ways you can pass the variable is runtime, global, local. So these are the three you have to keep in mind when you are using a context variables. So local means you can define the variable and you can pass the variable within the code. So you can pass the value to that variable within your code. So you are using Java component and you are trying to pass that value to the name, and you want to pass the runtime, you can pass. But when you defined already in local, if you are passing runtime also, it won't take. It will take if there is no value defined in a local, then it will take from the runtime. If you are not passing runtime, whatever you have defined in the context group, that will going to be the place, that is going to take the place, and it will pass the value whatever you have defined in this. So three ways you can use the context. You want to pass runtime, you can from studio you can check that, and it will allow you, and you can it will ask you to pass the value. So you can pass the whatever value you want, and you want to so you don't want to change the context value, but still you want to change for your code, then you can go and change in the local. So I'm doing a local, so I want to print the Sai Krishna, so I have used that variable and I'm assigning that value within local. So this is applicable for my job. So after my testing completed, I can deactivate this. So now what will happen again? If you run this job, default whatever is there, if it is if you are not check that prompt, then whatever default is there, it is going to take. For example, if you run this, it will just prompt, but still you are not going to give any extra value. Whatever it is there in the context defined, that is what it is displaying. So if you just click OK, then it will print the Sai. So you are not doing any changes to the name, but still you want to change, you can change it through runtime, but you have deactivated in local. So local, when the variable you define, if it is active, then it will not override whatever you pass from runtime. So local is going to be the first priority, and it will assign that value. So when you are testing, right, there is this kind of like a mistake we used to do. So somebody is in job, they have already declared or using, they forget to deactivate that flow, but still what we are trying to do, we'll try to pass we try to test passing that whatever location, for example file path location, you want to pass the file path location with respect to your mission, but he's already declared in his local path. So when you are running this one, it will not allow, because it's already locally, it is already defined by that other developer. So always it will pick up that local path whatever he is defined, and it will throw error, system cannot find the path, because in your mission whatever path he provided maybe not there, right? So if he is given a generic path, then it will have, and it will throw there is no file exists something. But when the path is completely different, he created some his name, or it is a user level folder or something, you folder is not available, then you'll get a error. So that is where I am explaining this concept. When you are testing in your local, make sure any variable is not locally assigned values. So if you have a assigned values in local, then it will not take whatever you are passing runtime, or whatever you are going to change in a context level. So you have to verify the job has any variables and related values are assigned in a local. So if it is a local assigned, just deactivate that, and then you can modify your changes, or you can check the boxes and prompt, and you can pass at the runtime, so that you cannot edit the existing values in context. You can runtime, you can simply pass from your prompt. So that is the advantage of runtime. So you no need to change existing whatever values defined in a context. You can just simply pass from that. Okay. So that is what the runtime checkbox. So in studio level, you can have that checkbox. So you can just check that, it will ask you to prompt. Okay, so runtime, local, global. So global means whatever you have created in a context group, it is going to be a global. Local means within the code, you are going to call that variable and assign the value. And runtime means you have to pass while running, you are going to pass the value. That is called runtime. Okay. So now coming back to yesterday, we have seen that, right? So we are trying to create a database connection using the whatever we have a database, and whatever hosts and all everything we created. But extra what we did, we created a context group. So there is an option, so you can revert now, you can see, right? So it will ask you, so this is what earlier we are using a connection. So we are hard coding the values of connection. So whatever host or server name, port number, everything we are hard coding here. So later I want to change. It's going to be again you have to open the metadata connection and all. So to override this, what we are doing, we are using a context. So you are just using a context. So whenever you use a context, automatically the context whatever you have assigned, right, this is that is tool itself is generating that context. So you can find that connection name with the context variables. So all the db whatever variables or values are used, that is going to be created. So you can find the db server name, host name and all. So here, right, so now for a dev I have given a underscore dev schema, and prod have given an underscore prod. So now I'm going to create a this schema. So this database I'm going to create, and I'm going to run the job. It will prompt to that, it will go into the load into that same whatever we have given. If it is a dev database, it needs to create the table and load the data into the dev environment. If I create if I select the UAT, then you have to, it will load into the underscore UAT. Like that we are trying to do, because we don't have a different servers or instances now. In general, we'll have a different instances. So DB, each and every environment, you will have a different instance of MySQL or whatever target system you are going to load the data. But here we don't have. For that purpose, what I am doing, I am creating a different databases. So if I am going to run the job in dev, then I am expecting to load the data into the underscore dev. If I am going to run in UAT, then I am expecting load the data into the underscore UAT. So like that, I am creating different schemas in database. So it will whenever you select the runtime, whatever environment you want to load, so respective schema, I'm expecting to load the data. So all four schemas, whatever we have in general in environment wise, I'm trying to replica like mimic the same different environments by using the different schemas. So four environments, I'm considering as a four environments, four schemas. I'm considering as a four environments for our exercise. Okay, so now we have a four environments. You can see dev, prod, sit, uat. So we have to see same we have in our context also. Okay, so now we are trying to maintain the data in different like we want to run the same job in different environments. Same thing we are trying to do within the same server. We are trying to populate the data different schemas. So you can feel that it is a different instance. So we are running in a different instance, like you are pointing to the job to the UAT, or you are pointing job to the SIT, or you are pointing to the prod. So that is the way you have to assume here. So whenever you select SIT, so the table should be created and loaded if you are into the SIT schema. So that is, you can treat it as a like our new instance for data load and SIT. So after dev completed, we are going to run the job in SIT, right? So that is what we are trying to mimic here. So you can just say finish. We are not change anything, so you can cancel it. So I'm going to open our database job. So what we have used earlier. So let me duplicate the DB job and I'll remove the lookups and all. So just how to duplicate the job, you can right click on the job, you can see that option to duplicate the job. Just click on duplicate and you can find the DB next. Okay, so same job I'm duplicated. So right click, if you want to duplicate the job, you can just right click and you can select the option to duplicate. So it will create a new job with the same code whatever you have in a previous job and all. And I'm going to add the context and I'm going to remove these lookups and all. And I don't want this right now, just this one. So here you see, right? So whatever database it is selected, and you are going to add the context group of DB connection. So already it is there, and whatever you are going to select should have to get that values. So I'm going to remove this and again add from the repository DB connections. Now we'll get the actual whatever we have made changes in the DB. Now you see, right? So production underscore prod and dev, you can see the underscore dev, like that you can see the different environments. Now when you are going to run this job, you have to select the which environment you want to run. And this table, right, this is staging table, so we can leave the table as is, and we'll drop and create every time. We can use the same option. So now we have to see the context variables are assigned to this or not. So this is not assigned yet. So what we have to do, we have to so this one, right, you have to call that variables. So context dot database name. So what is the host is nothing but a server, so you can call that context variable. And schema context dot control space, you will get the list of variables whatever we have. So database and username. So username is nothing but a login as per the context is created by the Talend. So now you can find login, and same way you can have additional parameters also. Context dot additional para, and the same you can change to context dot. So instead of hard coding, we are calling the variables. So whatever we have created the context variables for this database. So here, if you select an environment, based on that automatically the value will be replaced and it will be connected to the respective environment. Okay, so password, again we have to use the context dot password. So we have called all the variables. You are not going to see the value. You don't know the value also. If you want to see the values, you can go and see in the here. But in general, right? So you are not going to see this all kind of environments and values, anything in your real-time studio. Only a dev or default only. Prod, UAT, these credentials, some clients will not allow you to run from the local. So you have to run from the servers only. So they don't share you the password also. Somewhere they'll store they'll do the password encryption, decryption in a different environment, so that you can just read and load. But you cannot have you cannot have a legally you cannot do from your local studio higher environments, UAT and production. Some the clients due to security, but some clients will allow you to till UAT you can able to run. Only production they don't allow you to run from the local, because whom run and when run, like kind of things, it is going to be difficult to track when you run from the local. So if you run from server, it will be tracked everything. But if you run from local, so it is going to be difficult. And even prod is a critical business data, right? They won't allow you to do like ad hoc runs on data, ad hoc like kind of any request from others. So by mistake also they don't want to do any kind of mess up with the data. So they don't allow you to run from local higher environments except dev. So that's where you have to do always. You have to do for dev only. You have to run this job as local. So other environments, make sure you are running from server. Okay, so now we are selected and we have added the context variables. So values are not hard coded here, so you cannot see any value what value is here. So whenever you are running, so you can select that respective environment. So I'm going to run for this first dev. Also we don't have a table, right? So I'm going to run this for dev environment. So getting error table. So we don't have, so it is not able to drop. So what we have to select, drop if exist and create table. So earlier I used a drop and create, so we don't have a table there, so it is throwing error saying that it's not able to find the table. So I'm using drop if exist and create. So now we can go and see this is the one, refresh. So now table is created. Okay, so and again we can go for SIT. So we don't have any table, and prod we don't have any table. So UAT we don't have any table. So you can simply select the environment, so automatically it will load into that respective schema. So all we can run SIT also created. So same code we are running for different environments. So I mean different schemas I have created. So SIT we have loaded. Now you see, right, table is there, and UAT we are running. So you can see the table. So UAT also created. Now I'll go for production finally. You can see the prod schema also, the table is created. So you can just select. So data is loaded, right? This is the way you are going to, but here the right now we don't have a different SQL's instances. So just we are using the same local instance, but we have created different schemas, like we can feel that is a different environment. So underscore dev underscore UAT and underscore sit and prod. So now we are not hard coded the values of for specific. If you have hard coded here, so for example, all connections are same, but database is not is a hard coded, then what will happen? All you cannot move your data, you cannot load the data into the different environment. You have to come and edit the database name underscore dev here, and when you are running to SIT, then you have to give that database name, and again you are running UAT, you have to pass it. But to you, how many times you will edit, or you have to create a multiple jobs to run like a 4 environments, then you have to create the 4 jobs. for same logic, same transformation, whatever you are doing, same load you are doing. So if you don't have this context managing the environments, you don't have that option, then what you have to do, you have to create a multiple jobs or a same job every time you have to edit it. That is not possible, right? So you have to create a multiple jobs to, that is also not like a not worthy, right? So why we have to create a same logic, same code multiple times? So for that purpose we are maintaining the contextualization, context variables. So context variables are the one which is going to change the values with respect to the environment, so that you no need to touch your code anytime. So just you can maintain the different context variables and you can pass the respective environment related values to the variables. So variables should be the same. All the environments you have to make sure the variables are same. Then only this is going to work like this. Otherwise what will happen, you have to create all the variables. So if you are creating sit different variables and dev you are going to create a different variables, then you have to enter all the variables. That is not like a good, right? That is not a best practice. You have to make the variables are common, but values you are going to assign based on your environment. That is the concept of contextualization. Okay, so now in the file also, right, we have hard coded this file, but this is not recommended, right? So why we have to hard code this one? Now we are familiar with the context variables, so we have to create a context for this also. So whenever I want to read from specific path, I can pass from context, or I can runtime, I can pass this. So I am copying this path and I am going to use the context variable instead of hard coded. So this is called hard coded. So whenever you run, always it look for the same folder. If you want, if you go for all, like if you want to run for sit, same folder. If you want to look for dev, or if you want to load for a uat, so always it will check in this folder. So always you have to keep all your environments related files in the same folder, or otherwise if you can make it as a context, so no need to dependent on this folder. So I'm going to cut this one, copy here. So this is the inbound, right? So we can assume, so I'm going to, what I can do, so same I will mimic here also, different folders for each and every environment, so that file will be placed in all the environments, so that we can run. So inbound, so I'm going to copy this, copy, paste. I'm going to rename this folder as underscore dev. So the same structure, I'm going to have different environments. So that's why I'm just duplicating the folder. Same I'm going to do for sit. The path of the file will change right now, right? So because we are renamed that folder as underscore dev underscore sit, we are doing that path change. So the path is going to change. But whenever you are running, so we are expecting to respective folder, it should pick up the file and it will load the data. So this is what we have, and I'm going to add the context here, file context. Yesterday we created a file context. So file context, what variables we have? So we want to pass the file path. So file path you can use our directory. So how you want to split your variables, that is up to you. How much like how much utilization of same directory in different places, then you can separate the file name and directory differently. You have a same folder, you have a multiple files, you can separate the directory and file name, so that you can use the directory path multiple times, and file names also you can repeatedly pass the value. But right now I'm going to use the file path. So file path is my variable which I am going to pass the path of the file every time. So it's going a different environment. So I'm going to assign the value for this path, file path. this one, right? Default I can leave this as an inbound, so I'm going to copy this. Okay, so now what we have to change? We have to change the underscore dev. Here we have to change the underscore dev. Fraud, we have to fraud, we didn't create it, so let it be like this, and we have created SIT. Okay, so now we are referred respective path for each and every environment. So what we have to call here, instead of calling the hard coded, so you can just call the context dot file path. So we are using a file path variable which we have defined file path for respective environments. And here, so we are already we are also hard coded here. Instead of hard coding, what we can do, again you can call the same variable, or you can use a global variable of file exist. So file name. So this is the value you can call, or you can use the context dot file path. So now nothing, your code is not hard coded anything. So always it will look from the context variables, and it will try to pick up what is the environment you have selected, and then it will look for the location the file is exist, then it will try to load the data. If file not exist, then it will throw error. So now I'm going to run for dev again. So it is going to drop table and it will load again. See, now it is working, right? Same way you can go for SIT also. So finally, the concept is you are not hard coded the values at code level. This is a code, right? This is whatever your job or something. So you are not hard coded anywhere. You cannot find the values. So you cannot see any value of host or port number, anything. Even here also, you cannot see the path. So what path you have passed, anything, you cannot find what path is passed in the hard coded. This is all you have made kind of variables. So you can assign value when you are running the job, or while you are running the job, or you can get the outside of the code. So this is the code you are going to deploy, but values you can read from outside also. That is what we are going to see the next step. Now hope you guys able to follow how we can manage the context variables and the related values going to be called in the job. So whatever variable you are going to call, the value it will get from the context. So if here there is no value defined, for example I am going to prompt this file path. So any path I can pass because same file I have. So I just want to use the prompt. So I am, there is no restriction, I want to use this path. So because I have that same file in different location, so by default data underscore dev is a path which is going to look for the file. But what I have done, I have given the prompt. So when I am going to run the job, it will ask me to pass the path. So I can pass any path. So where you can place the file. So I'm going to place this file in different location. So I'm going to copy this file, in desktop. Okay. So I'm going to copy here. Okay. So file is somewhere else I copied. So how I'm going to pass this path? Runtime. So I can do anything dev, right? So I just want to pass this path, copying full path clipboard, and I'll go here. Whenever I am going to run for a dev environment, it will ask me to allow the pass the path of the value. So file path I can pass runtime. So now you see, right, it is asking me. So I'm just copying this. So you have to change the backward slash forward slash. So actual location is data underscore dev, but I have placed my file in different location. So I'm trying to read from that location. So just I'm passing from desktop. So you can see, right, it is able to pick up from that location. That is the advantage of context. So you can remove that file path. So you can remove all the values whatever you define in a context. You can pass at runtime. So same way you can pass for database also. For example, you are running for default, and default is this one, but I want to prompt this one. How you can prompt this? You can just check the prompt box for the database. So I can use the database alone. I can prompt when it is running from default. So I can pass which environment I want to run. I can pass that database of, for example, I want to run for SIT. So I can pass that value. So it will prompt for. Did it ask for a database prompt? No, because you are selected a dev environment. When you select that respective environment, whatever you have checked the prompt, right? So I have checked the prompt for default. So there it will ask to prompt that database. Now you can see, right, it is prompting for database name. So I'm going to use prod. Now it will go and load into the prod database. This is how you are going to use this. Now you are seeing, right, we are even studio level, we have already passed the values and all. To avoid to pass from the studio level, how you are going to do that is going to that's what we are going to see in a real time. We are not going to see any values of variables in your studio level. All these values are passing from outside of the like your code. So how we are going to do, we are going to see now. So I am going to, what we have to write, two ways of reading the context values. Two ways you can do that. One is file and database in general. So I am going to create a file to have these context values and variables. Okay, it is called as a key and value pair. So I am going to use a comma as a separator. Okay, the first thing is file path example. We can test with file path alone. Okay, file path, and I'm going to have that what is the file path. This is a default. Okay, so this file I'm going to save. I'm reading the values from file. So how I'm going to pass the values from outside of the code. Right now I'm using a file system. So file I'm going to maintain all the context. So I'm going to keep a new folder saying that contexts. Here in this folder, this is the file for You can use any extension. So you can use a txt or csv. Some people will use a .csv, some people use a txt. So extension is your wish. Okay, so underscore dev. Okay. So this is a one file, and I'm going to copy this, and I'll use for sit. What we have to change here? We have to change sit. I'm going to copy this again. I'll make it as UAT. What we have to change here? The path of the file, UAT. And I'm again going to copy this. So like these 4 context files we are going to maintain in a real time. So the values I'm going to change this right. This is called parameter file or context file, whatever they are going to call in technically. So they can call anything like a parameter file, parameter and value. This is a parameter and related value. In key value, key means variable name, and value means what is the value of that variable. And what is the separator here? We are using comma. You can use anything. You can use any separator to make a difference between the variable and value. So variable is key and value is the value of the path, whatever, like variable related value. Okay, why we are using key and value only in header? That's what we are going to see now. Okay, so now what I am going to do, I'll delete these values from our studio. So I'm going to remove. Yes. Even I don't want these many environments for now, because I'm going to run from outside of the studio. So I'll delete this all. I'll just keep it default. I'm going to remove. So now I'm removing this. Removing this. I don't want these many things right now in studio, because I know which context file is going for prod, which context file is going to refer for UAT. So I'll just have a default, and I have only context. Variables should be there in our job. Without variables, you cannot assign the values of respective path. So file path I'm going to get from outside of the studio, outside of the code. So I'm removing this. So now if you run the job, job is going to run. We remove the value of this file path, and we have just a null, like we don't have anything in the file path. If you run